Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 116. As you can see, we're trying some new stuff out in the visual presentation of the podcast for those of you watching us online. Mixing it up. Give us feedback. You like it? You want to go back to the old way? Let us know. This week, the Super Bowl is this coming Sunday, and I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of excited. You got the young gun versus the old veteran. But even me, who does not like Tom Brady, is interested in the narrative of Tom Brady going into the Super Bowl. Can he win without Belichick? And normally in the Super Bowl, you got all the trailers. I don't think that'll be the case this year. But still, we thought, we haven't talked trailers in a while. Let's talk trailers. Actually, we have talked about trailers. But it was all the way back in episode 3 of the podcast. I think we've improved. I hope we've improved since the 2.5 years ago that was. And also, we have Michael with us this time, not Josh. So, Michael, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, pal. Thank you so much for having me back. And yeah, this is going to be fun. Trailers are my favorite thing with movies, honestly, because it's the stereotypical journey, not the destination. And for me, it invokes so much speculation, so much hype. Well, at least this case, we're going to talk about good trailers. So I can't wait. Thank you so much for having me back on. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, so before we get into all of that, we've been watching some stuff. Michael's been watching some more interesting stuff than me, but I've been watching some stuff in honor of the Godzilla vs. Kong release soon. I was just like, you know what? I need to go back and watch all the stuff that I've missed before when it comes to Godzilla and Kong. So I had not actually watched the original King Kong in its entirety. Maybe I think the first time I watched it, I fell asleep halfway through. Yeah, I almost did again. I will say this. The effects for 1933 still pretty much hold up. Like,
Yes.
They look really, really good. I thought it was very dated in, one, its depiction of women, just going, women on a boat is bad luck. And I'm going, it's a weird superstition, but okay. But two, the way that the story is told is really, really bizarre. Of just, as soon as any character is introduced whatsoever, it's like reading the back of their baseball card. Hey, you're the director. You like to put your cast and crew in danger so you get your shot, but you always come out ahead. Ha ha! I'm like, you could just, show us that instead of tell us that. It was fine, but it's very old school and how it decides to give you information, which I just thought was very entertaining in that sense.
Yeah, no, I saw that the original King Kong at my grandmother's house at a family get together. Apparently that's what some of my older relatives thought was the idea of a good time. But I will say one of the cool things about it is that some of my extended family, they're huge film fans, and they're able to give me as a younger kid just some cool facts. Things as a high schooler, you're sitting around with your family, you're watching something together. I mean, for me, that was always a special time when you can get anyone to sit down and watch something together. The laughs, the banter back and forth amongst family members, that's always meant a lot, and I'll never forget that. They were telling me how it was made, and what they thought when they saw it for the first time. And that was really, really special to hear, especially my grandmother, because she was from that generation where movies were a newer thing. So that's something I'm glad. I'm glad you went back and watched it. I think as a film fan, these are the movies that are kind of lost, I think, for the rest of fandom, especially the younger the younger people are now growing up. I mean, was the original Kong was 33, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how many millennials are watching films from that long ago?
I have more faith in Godzilla just because it's 25 years later almost, and I feel like we evolved as storytellers. But again, the effects really, really hold up. Like any of the action scenes, like Godzilla, not Godzilla, Kong fighting the T-Rex for the first time, really, really cool. The dinosaurs look great. It's just the way that they choose the stories, I was like, this is very outdated. I'll try and watch all the major ones leading up to it, because most of them are on HBO Max. So I'm debating of how I should do this. So I'll toss it up to you at home watching this, and to you, Michael. So I've watched the original. What should I watch next? Should I go in chronological order, in which case I would be watching the Jeff Bridges one from the 70s, the Peter Jackson remake, or should I watch Godzilla next because that timeline came next?
That is a fantastic question. Have you actually seen Peter Jackson's Kong?
No, I own it in 4K in my Vudu, but I have not seen it yet.
Okay. Well, because of where that movie is set, I would actually watch that one next and then go
That's kind of
go
what
to
I'm leaning
Godzilla from
towards.
there.
That's kind of
Yeah,
what I'm leaning
I
towards.
would do that. It is it was funny. So my dad and I actually were watching some clips of that from this past week, which we'll get to a little bit. Why we were watching those, and I will say I know it came out in 2005. It is quite a spectacle of a film. It's very ambitious, and I'm not saying the quality is as good as what he was doing with obviously like Lord of the Rings, for example, but it is still ambitious, knowing that he wrapped Return of the King and immediately went and did this. It's actually quite stunning.
Mm. Yeah, visually, Peter Jackson can never go wrong. It's kind of sometimes he gets overly ambitious. The Hobbit or the rolling cities on tanks movie. And then on Sunday, Heather and I watched the Royal Rumble because I don't care how bad WWE gets, the Royal Rumble is always one of my favorites. And this year, top to bottom, pretty good show. Then again, I haven't watched WWE in months, so I was like aware of who was in the ring, but I wasn't caught up with storyline, so I could just kind of watch it as a fan. And even just casually, it's a good show. It's a really good Rumble. The right people won. And there's some spots that even me who's watched a bunch of them go,
Hmm.
you definitely almost touched, or you for sure touched, and you don't want us to know that you touched the floor. Because for those that don't know, Royal Rumble is basically the grown man's version of the floor is lava. Um,
That's such a good point. I never even thought about it until you were leading there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
but it's if you're introducing someone to wrestling, start them with the Royal Rumble more so than WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Royal Rumble is always so much fun, and this year was really fun too. Just me and Heather watching no Rumble party for obvious reasons, but the right people won, which is not something I can often say in WWE. Speaking of winners, Michael, you are not one this week because of what you
Oh,
watched.
uh, yeah, that's funny. So my dad had never seen Star Trek before. He had never seen the I will say J.J. Abrams Star Trek. He grew up watching Star Trek, and he had never seen this new timeline, and that's something that he wanted to see. I mean, come on, Nathan, you're close with your father. Can you just dream of, hey, Dad, you're coming over, we're gonna hang out for a while. Dad, why don't you pick a movie? And he says, well, let's watch this. I didn't suggest it. He just wanted to see it. I mean, how beautiful is that? I mean, that just speaks to my heart because for me, JJ's 2009 Star Trek is one of the most rewatchable and overall most enjoyable films I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought it. I bought it on 4K, Ultra HD, and it looked great. And my gosh, we had a fantastic time. I have not had a chance to watch WandaVision here, so I apologize. I'll have to talk about that next week. But this week's been kind of rough. I apologize. Like I have not been able to get to a lot of films
You watched one though.
except for Tenet. I rented Tenet and saw it in Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, 4K, HDR, you name it. I
With
watched it in the
subtitles.
best, yes, with subtitles, the best way that I could sit down and enjoy this film. And I waited until I was the most awake I could be to take in a Christopher Nolan film. I shut out all senses, notifications, and I watched it, and it was a movie, yes, like probably, and I will have to give him credit, visually the most ambitious, most ambitious film he has ever done. One of the most ambitious visual films since, in my opinion, I am not making this up, since Stanley Kubrick's magnificent film, which I still have not seen, so it's only
So you assume
yeah.
it's magnificent.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's great. 2001, Space Odyssey.
It's
But
so boring. It is
yeah,
so boring.
I was confused. I will say, I went to theology school philosophy and reading theology, it's pretty dry. I get it. Like I can once you read the Augustine's Confessions, your brain's pretty much melted. It took me maybe one other viewing after watching Inception to say, okay, that makes sense. A Dark Knight, that's pretty straightforward. The Prestige, I think, is my favorite Nolan film. That
Mm,
one threw me through a loop, but
so
I
good.
but I got it along the way. Uh, Interstellar, kind of some strange paradoxes in there. You're kind of like, I don't know I don't know about that ending, but you get it. This film, I don't even know why it's so confusing. It's like he's trying to tell a good story, but to mask all of the holes, it's we're going to make this complicated so the audience has no idea what to critique. Because not only was I visually lost, I was lost with the story. Um, I know it would take another viewing. I almost want to give him that, but I have no desire to ever watch this movie again. I really don't. I was tired by the end, and I don't know if you want, as a filmmaker, your audience to be tired. Because now going into these films like Nolan, it's like, man, I'm kind of tired. I don't want to watch this movie. And I don't think we want that from our films. I think we want
Mm.
to be challenged for sure, but to be strained. I mean, even the nonlinear storytelling of what was the World War II film?
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk, is even kind of like, come on, man, can you just make a normal film, please? So I listen. I recommend people watch it because I think Nolan's doing stuff that's not traditional, but I think he's now doing it just to say, hey, look at me, I'm different. And I know I can't say that that's his motive, but that's the only way I can interpret this film. It's ambitious in the wrong ways. And I'm sorry to have said that.
Because I've not seen it yet, I'll get around to it at some point. It's just really, really not high on my priority list after I saw those opening reviews. Given what I'm wearing with my Batman shirt, I gotta ask, how's R. Pats in this movie?
He's fantastic. The performances are incredible. I think they're incredibly
Everyone's
compelling.
performance?
I would say so, yes.
Okay,
There
because I had heard
there's
going into it that John David Washington was a little bit iffy, but I liked him in Black Klansman, so I don't know if I actually believe those people that were saying that.
well, I just think I've never seen him in anything except for the trailer for the film, and so his character is written in a way that I absolutely understand why people would say that. But he has some really good moments early on because you're kind of like, well, this is like, who is this guy gonna be? He flexes his muscle, but he plays the role well. He doesn't deviate because that's not what his character is for. If anything, you probably could make that critique like, hey, this guy wasn't given a whole lot to do, or this guy didn't have maybe a personality. Well, it's because that's the point. So I think that would be more a reflection on the screenwriting team than it would be his acting. Because that's the one thing I would take away is that people are doing a very good job here from like all around. And the thing is like this is what's kind of weird, Nate, is that like the first half of the film, I'm like, okay, they're setting this stuff up really good. Like, and so it starts really slow, and then it just snowballs into something massive, and then my eyes hurt because my brain is trying to figure out what is actually happening, and because it's done visually, it's such a I don't want because I can't give any spoilers. The visuals mess with your brain because
Hmm.
you're not only just trying to physically understand time in a different way, you're seeing it also in a different way. So your brain's trying to interpret, okay, so interpret what's the plot, what's the goal, and now my brain is messed up. Like this is an achievement in film, absolutely. That's why I think film critics need to see this. But I don't know if they're going to go away thinking, "Wow, that was a very compelling film. I can't wait to discuss the plot." No, that's not what this movie is, unfortunately.
Well, that's unfortunate because I have been a fan of Nolan in the past, but I feel like his last good movie was Inception, and that was
Mm.
2010. That was like his last truly magnificent movie. The rest of them have just been good at best, which is kind of disappointing, but hardly
Yeah,
surprising lately. It's kind of been a downward trajectory.
yeah.
Well,
Uh,
what do you got,
Oh, I
Michael?
was going to say just real quick. I will say some of the best cinematography though I've ever seen. The live shots. I mean, the fact that Nolan just knows how to get a shot,
Oh yeah.
do it practically. Like the on set locations are breathtaking. Like this is one of the few films where I wanted to look up where they shot some of the principal photography because I'm like, I want to go there. I want to visit that place because that's really gorgeous. So you can't say anything about the the actual like effects, amazing. The on-site locations, amazing. Practical work in CGI, pretty much. I couldn't even tell, and I was looking for it. And the subtitles certainly helped, but they must have done something. I know you brought this up. They must have done something in post-production because I didn't think it was that difficult to understand. But there are some scenes it does seem like they're underwater, but that also like considering the ambiance of what's going on, I could forgive it. So I think you actually could survive this movie without subtitles, though.
It wouldn't be the first time that Nolan has edited a movie's sound in post production. Y'all remember what happened with Bane and that first teaser trailer? But I digress. Before we get into our main news topics, I got one last little surprise for you guys that I teased on our social medias if you're following us at Uncharted Media on Facebook, and I believe Media Uncharted on Twitter and Instagram. For anybody that knows me, I've been working on a Nightwing project for a while. We were
Yes.
supposed to be getting a Nightwing movie with Chris McKay. I'm still plugging along at it, but I want to extend my first olive branch, extend my first teaser to you exclusively to the podcast listeners. So here we go. Your first look at my upcoming How Would I Do a Nightwing movie. What you're seeing right here is me altering a photo from the comics, from a very, very old comic, but this to me is how I'm describing Dick Grayson. Point this way. This will be Nightwing's first costume in my story pitch. I know y'all expecting a certain look, but trust me when I say I have reasons for why he will look the way he does in the story. So I'm pulling from all kinds of different resources. I just basically scraped the surface and went through the entire 152 issue run of the original Nightwing series. Went through all the new 52 issues, just finished Grayson, then I'll be going through Rebirth. I already have some of the clips that I need, just scraped through almost all the comics. This is what his costume will look like for the very first costume, but in true superhero fashion, let's just say he won't stay that way forever, because yeah, that's all I'll probably say about that. But I did, but I didn't take an unconventional approach with his first costume.
Well, I will tell you this, buddy. It looks fantastic. Listen, this is going to come at a perfect time. I have been a huge fan of your extra work. And again, I will just plug this for anyone who hasn't seen yours and Josh's video on how you would pitch the Fantastic Four. I would recommend, for the sake of your own life and entertainment, take a pause on this, listen to that, and then come back, because then you will see what Nathan's pitching here and how much work he puts into it, and then how you see how his mind works, because I think this is amazing. Because one was the Fantastic Four was great by itself, but knowing how much you love this character and how
Oh
much
yeah.
thought and care you'll put into it, like seriously, man, I cannot wait. Do you have for those people? Okay, I'm going to ask on behalf of those people. Do you have a goal in mind for a release?
At the very, very latest, it will be sometime in March when the Nightwing comics start up again, when that
Okay.
Tom Taylor run that we talked about a few weeks ago, when that launches
Sure.
on issue 78, I think that'll be my absolute latest deadline. But like you brought up, I like my Fantastic Four. There's some things that I would change. Fantastic Four was my warm-up for this. Like, I don't want to overhype it, but there's some stuff in this that I was just like, if we get a Nightwing movie and this doesn't happen, I will genuinely be mad. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but just it's coming together really, really well, and I'm really excited for you guys to see it. So yeah, here's your first tease at what I'm envisioning, what you guys will be picturing in your head when I'm telling you this tale of one Richard Grayson. Now, let's move on to some news topics, shall we? GameStop. That's all we need to. Now we should have like 1 million views, right? You just need to say GameStop, and everyone
That's right.
just flocks to your product, whatever that may be, because that's just all over the place now. Um, if you've been living under a rock recently, GameStop's been in the news, probably more so than they've ever been in the news in their entire existence. It's really complicated here, and we're not going to go into full detail because we're a movie podcast and show, but it's now crossed over into the world of movies as not one, but two different movies are in the works about what's happening with the stock market and GameStop. Okay, are you just that bored with your week? Like, I know the movie industry is slow right now, but GameStop. Also, I said this would happen. However, I said Aaron Sorkin would be the one writing it because
Right.
Moneyball and The Social Network. Although some people are already claiming that this will be called the Anti-Social Network. So we have the Netflix graphic up here because supposedly Netflix is one of the studios that's doing it, which means it'll come out in 3 months and it'll probably be really, really crappy. Because Netflix likes to just go, oh, this is popular, let's just jump on that right now while we don't wait for production, pre-production, or planning or anything like that. I think the story of what's happening right now is prime movie-making material. But also someone brought it up, and it's completely true. Don't you guys want to wait, like, maybe a month to see how this resolves itself, or if there's more to this story? Because if you start, you may have a fever pitch situation here where you have to rewrite the ending because something drastically changes mid-production. This, like, just writes itself. It's so... okay, sure. That being said, I still don't have faith that this will be a good movie, because Netflix originals are very hit or miss. Their TV shows are great, their movies are very, very spotty. But Michael, I'm sure you have about as much understanding of the current GameStop situation as I do. Is this something that interests you at all from a movie-making perspective?
Oh, yes, but not something done right away because the story is still being written as we speak. And there's a lot of facts to be found out about all of this, all the numbers and full responses. So I think it'd be very irresponsible to try to tell this story, but in a way a little ironic to capitalize on it. So like there's a little bit of commentary to be had there. But yeah, like when you messaged me like, hey, can we just have Sorkin write this? Yeah, absolutely. What a perfect guy to be able to do that. Um, this is movie worthy material if we're being honest. So I would absolutely watch it. But the long-term repercussions, I think, is something that you'd have to talk about too. Is like, how every like a lot of those based on a true story movies end with like a paragraph of text or whatever. You wouldn't be able to have one of those moments here if you tried doing it right now. So I'd like to have the dedication and time put into it, but at the moment, I think we should let things breathe just a little bit. There's a lot of high emotion at the moment.
Yeah, everyone seems to be on edge, and it's a situation that's changing day by day. What I think might
Hmm.
happen here is similar to what we saw with Steve Jobs when he passed away. You got two movies that came out at roughly around the same time, but one was made by competent people with Aaron Sorkin and Danny Boyle, and the other one had Ashton Kutcher. So I think that might happen. Maybe I'm being too mean to Netflix here, but I think Netflix will be like, yes, we were the first one to get our movie out, and then some other studio will be like, yes, but we took our time, and ours is a better movie. Like I like the Steve Jobs movie with Michael Fassbender. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think let's not rush this out. I've said we would get a movie for this, but again, let's take our time. Because for all we know, and how this story has played out so far, there could be even weirder twists. Like, all of a sudden you could see Gary Busey's announced as the new GameStop CEO or something like that. Just, at this point, anything is fair game. So, yeah, maybe pump the brakes and wait just a second? But then again, Netflix is known for their patience.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, boy. Well, let's talk about something that is surprising, but surprising in a good way. So, Disney Plus is ever looking to expand their horizons and add more programming because you will obey the mouse overlords. However, this is one of those things, and actually, I'll give credit where credit's due. Disney Plus, in terms of giving the people what they want, has really been hitting it out of the park in terms of the stuff that they've announced is actually stuff people want to see. A certain trailer we'll talk about later seems like it's got the charm of something else. And this is another project that it wouldn't have been the first thing to come to my mind, but when you say it, yeah, I'm really, really into it. And that's that we will be getting a Wakanda series on Disney Plus directed by Black Panther director himself, Ryan Coogler. I think this is fantastic because I like Black Panther, but one of the coolest things about it, what made it stand out so much from all the other MCU movies, was it's not so much universe because it's still in the MCU, but the little like pocket world that is Wakanda. Like almost as soon as you get the shot of his ship coming into the city, you're like, this is different. It's visually different. It feels different. It's old school but new school at the same time. And one of my biggest not so much complaints, but one of my biggest takeaways from Black Panther was, I want to spend more time in Wakanda. This seems like a really interesting and fascinating place to be.
Absolutely.
So I'm completely fine with this. The question is, do we think this show would have still been greenlit had Chadwick Boseman still been alive? And I think actually maybe, because they want to expand that world. And I don't think there's any other like section of the MCU that you can really tailor a show around in terms of just the location and the people, because it might not be that interesting. Like, here's Ant-Man's neighborhood. Isn't that cool? But like Wakanda has that such interesting aesthetic and vibe of it. Like I said, it's new school meets old school, really. And I really want to spend more time in that. And also just with the people of Wakanda, Black Panther has such strong supporting characters. So maybe what's M'Baku's people like on a day-to-day basis? What are like the subsections of Wakanda like? There's so many different interesting possibilities that you can go with this that I'm all for this. Add the fact that you're getting Ryan Coogler back, who is one of the best directors working today with such a unique and powerful voice. I'm all in.
Yeah, this is actually quite surprising to me. One of the most surprising stories this past week, like movie-wise, because I just wouldn't think they would get this type of caliber talent to be able to like basically run the entire show. Like that's actually really encouraging because I think he made a splash with the first one, and I'm really excited to see where he will go, especially with the world building. Right? I mean, who wouldn't want to hang out in the streets of Wakanda and see like what's going on down there? Like the one thing that was unanimous with everyone's praise or maybe dissension of Black Panther was the shared notion of like we want to see more of this world though. Like we liked the world that it was created. Like especially during like the ancestral plane. Let's go back there. Let's expand on the lore of that. I think that'd be an amazing thing. Also, I think it would be able to give people an opportunity to expand on the other characters. In absence of Chadwick Boseman, which is still such a tragedy. But this gives the other characters time to step up and maybe take on the mantle collectively. Like instead of just one person, you can say we are Black Panther, maybe, like as an entire nation. It's not just like Shuri's responsibility. It's this is who we are as our people, and I think it can be done very tastefully with a lot of respect to what's come before. So I think they have the right people, the right showrunners to do that exact thing. So this makes sense to me, and I'm really glad that it's coming.
I wish I could say I was glad something was coming, but I've made no qualms that I'm not really particularly excited for this, but I'll still watch it because I'm a DC shill and I'll just watch anything that's put in front of me, even if it's made by Zack Snyder. Well, we now have a release date for the Snyder Cut of Justice League. It's for our epicness that it will be. March 18th, 2021, which for those of you keeping track at home, that's a Thursday. And there's those people that still believe there's a war going on between DC and Marvel that are just like, they did it so they can release one day before Falcon Winter Soldier and steal all of its thunder. I'm going, Falcon Winter Soldier is going to be coming out for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. It's going to have that initial surge, but it's got legs as opposed to the Snyder Cut's going to be everyone's going to watch. And more than likely, to call out now, they'll crash HBO Max's servers because HBO Max's servers are already pretty crappy as is. But the Snyder Cut fans, as much as they really annoy the crap out of me and they more or less bully everybody, they're loyal to a fault. And I've said it before, Snyder Cut fans, don't you dare pirate this. You've asked for this, so actually support it. They're going to crash HBO Max. Why they're releasing on a Thursday is just an odd pick. So in addition to the posters, no, in addition to the release date, Zack Snyder also teased some posters with some text over some of the images saying one of them is fallen, one of them is risen, and I forget what the other one is. I'm just going, are you trying to build up hope and inspiration now because your universe has been really bleak so far? But again, we have not seen Justice League. Maybe this is the most hopeful and optimistic one, and we're going on a journey through these movies. But so far, nothing's really convinced me that that's what's happening here. I do feel pretty confident saying, though, that we'll probably get a trailer for the Snyder Cut this Sunday during the Super Bowl because it's a streaming thing. If we do get any trailers this Sunday, I think they'll all be for stuff that is guaranteed to not be moving release dates because they'll be going to streaming, like a Falcon Winter Soldier trailer, maybe something for WandaVision. Snyder Cut is very, very likely. Maybe something for Hulu. Streaming trailers will be at the Super Bowl, but not actual movie trailers because no studio wants to pay that much money for a movie they might end up having to delay for 3 or 4 months unless they know for a fact they're not moving the date, like Godzilla vs. Kong is still coming out when it's coming out, but it's also coming to streaming. Michael, does this generate anything, good or bad, or anything in you whatsoever?
Honestly, no. I'm really not going to watch it. I will say that for me, I'm not going to be one of those people. Don't worry, I'm not going to actually pirate this. I would never do that. I just, for me, I'm not interested, and I want to move on. And this feels like we're going backwards because I don't know. Let me ask you this, because I don't really have any more else to say beside that. Do you think it causes harm? Like, let's say this is great. Let's just say, hypothetically, this is phenomenal, but it's not canon. Do you think that could potentially do more harm to the DC universe than it does good?
That's such a tough question. It's more or less the fans' reaction, because before the movies even come out, you've seen all the hashtags of "Restore the Snyderverse" and going, the reason the Snyderverse ended is because the box office returns were going downhill, not uphill. And
right.
Snyder Cut fans are diehard, and that's awesome that they are. But the reality is the Snyder universe wasn't bringing in the casual fan, and Warner Brothers cares more about the casual fans than the diehard fans, because casual fans will tell their other casual fans, and that'll bring in more money. It's what Snyder does in his approach to things is very, very niche, and that's fine. If that works for you, that's awesome. He commands a very diehard, loyal fan base, but that's not the general population. And I think people seem to keep forgetting that the reason he was fired, because make no mistake, he was fired off Justice League, despite the horrible things that happened to him, and my heart goes out to him in that sense. He was for sure fired. The reason that happened is because the box office revenue wasn't where Warner Brothers was wanting it to, and they gave him too much control off the bat. They're just like, here, you're in charge of everything, when the foundation wasn't particularly strong. Now, you say, does this do more harm than good? There's been talk of extending the Snyder universe in some capacity, whether that's in comics only, in like a limited comic run, or making it an Elseworlds universe on HBO Max. I think if it's relegated to just HBO Max, then that might be okay. Because even Zack Snyder himself has said, this is an Elseworlds. My universe is kind of like an Elseworlds, which has made me a little more comfortable going, okay, so it's the characters we know, but not, because it's an Elseworlds, which is basically comic speak for it's the characters you know, but they don't act like the characters that you know because there's a hook or a gimmick as to why they're different. I think Snyder Cut fans don't want to hear this, but I think the Snyderverse is dead with Justice League, and that's not just me thinking that, that's not just Warner Brothers thinking that. I think Snyder himself is ready to move on. He's made some statements that, like, yes, he seems to be, like, hyping up his Justice League movie, but he seems like he's got a pretty solid relationship with Netflix now, with Army of the Dead coming out later this year. I think he wants to move on to other projects. Say what you want about his movies, but I'm sure the guy's burnt out. Like, comic book movies are not easy. The Russos had to step away from Marvel eventually because they got tired. Comic book movies, or big budget movies in general, are exhausting. correct me
Hmm.
if I'm wrong, but he hasn't done any non-comic book movies since Man of Steel. He's poured his heart and his soul into the Snyderverse. While it hasn't been for everybody, it's not for me. I applaud his 100% attitude for this and going balls to the wall, going all in on it. The dude probably wants to do something else. That's why he's doing Army of the Dead, which is a horror movie. And supposedly that's a pretty good relationship that he's built with Netflix right there. And he's kind of on turmoil, shaky ground with Warner Brothers in terms of they might not like him and he might not like them. So maybe he moves on to a different studio. I don't see there being a future in the Snyderverse. And that's just not coming from me, who's not really a fan of it. It's more just logistically, it doesn't make a lot of financial sense to continue it and be like, well, why are they doing it for HBO Max in the first place? Because we've said before, HBO Max is desperate for anything. This is basically an $85 million marketing campaign for HBO Max, if nothing else. So I think for all parties involved, this is more or less the end of the Snyderverse. Some people will be fine with that. Other people will be mad about that. And that's just the way it is. And I think that's fine. I think I'm looking forward to this just being done so we can move past it, because you can't change the Snyder Cut fans' mind. They've already set it in their mind that this movie's going to be awesome. And that's fine if you think that. I have my jury still out. I think it'll be like his other stuff. There'll be some good stuff in it, but it just won't connect with me. And that's fine. But I think this is the end of it, at least from in my mind.
But as far as like, if it is really good, I mean, obviously that'd be good for the rest of us. But I mean, wouldn't it? Could it just? I guess I'm getting at is, could this cause some sort of a fracture amongst the fandom again? Like, is this like the worst case scenario if it's actually really good?
Well, the fan base can't be any more fractured than it is right now in terms of you either love Snyder with every part of your being and you will die for him, or you think he's the devil and he makes the worst movies known to man, which I hate those extremes. You can be somewhere in the middle. I think even if it's successful, it doesn't mess up their plans because they're hinging so much on Flash, and if this movie's a success, then when they are making Flash, they'll just go, well, the Snyderverse is a universe over here, and we'll just continue it in this side thing. I think they really, really want Flash to work so that they can do their multiverse thing and be like, everything that's ever happened that has the name DC on it is canon, including the Supergirl movie. So I think they're hoping Flash will make everything canon. That way, good or bad, they can say the Snyder Cut happened, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes no, it does. Okay.
And now, as Monty Python would say, now for something entirely different. I'm not gonna lie. Our next topic got me real hyped, and I'm not even a big fan of the franchise. So, Disney Plus, as we talked about earlier, has been delivering some pretty solid content, and the stuff that they've got coming down the pipe is stuff that people are interested in. Case in point, a new Mighty Ducks, because that is like 90s kids live and die by their Mighty Ducks. Like, Mighty Ducks is, it's going to sound horrible, but it's like the cultiest cult movie ever of, what, you don't like Mighty Ducks? It's like the Sandlot for hockey, basically. It's good. It's just a 90s sports movie, but it's fine. I don't really have any emotional attachment to it. That being said, I almost cheered real loud when, in the trailer, you get Emilio Estevez to show up. And I was like, okay, I already knew that he was going to be in the series, but that just, it's the Chewie we're home moment for Mighty Ducks fans. Now, before I toss it over to Michael, I gotta say, I never realized how much Emilio Estevez looks like his dad until this trailer. Because he shows up and it's like, wait, did we de-age Martin Sheen? Oh, wait, no, that's Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, this movie, like,
Series.
I watched The Sandlot.
Series.
Well,
It's a
I will
series.
say that.
It's a TV series.
Excuse me. So the original Mighty Ducks film and the second one were some of the most rewatched films. I mean, I wore out the VHS, like the rewinding. Like, there are particular patches in those original films where I can't actually rewatch those because they've been corrupted, because I would just go back, I'd I would shut the TV off, get my little rewinder, fast rewinder, and I would put it back in. So for me to see this series announced first and foremost, that was really, really cool, very nostalgic. But then to see them actually bring, basically Coach Bombay back, like that's really, really cool. It doesn't really capture the same magic because the first one was a little more adulty. Like it wasn't as appealing to kids per se because the kids were all they also had like a lot of like adult humor in the actual show and
Just like
Gordon
Sandlot.
Bombay's yeah, exactly. So for me, this doesn't capture the same magic, but they're trying to take something that was cool for one generation and carry it on. I like that. They're appealing to a different audience because it's Disney Plus, and so I understand it. I get it. It's just not for me, and it's also not the Mighty Ducks that I know. But that's okay. Like that is fine. It's just that this isn't for me, and I guess what? There's more movie fans out there than me. So overall, I think this is good. I just won't be partaking in it.
I don't know, man. I think you might like it if you go into it expecting it to be different than what you know. Like, I think this is Disney Plus going, holy crap, Cobra Kai did what numbers for Netflix? We need our own
Yeah.
version of Cobra Kai, including bringing back the original cast. This feels like Cobra Kai to me, which, y'all, if you have not watched Cobra Kai, go watch it. It is so good. Doesn't even matter if you're a Karate Kid fan. I've got Heather and I watched it back when it was on YouTube Red. It makes us sound like hipsters. But like some of Heather's friends, Heather's mom texted her one day and it's like, hey, we've been watching Cobra Kai. And I'm like,
Really?
okay, sure. Cobra Kai is a wonderful religion. Oh, come join the party and worship at the altar that is Ralph Macchio. And William Zabka, because William Zabka is the actual star of the show. This feels like Disney Plus going Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai, Cobra Kai. But I don't mind it because Cobra Kai is awesome. I've seen some people complain in the comments because they've got nothing better to do and people just love to complain. They're like, well, why are the original Mighty Ducks the bad guys here? And I'm going, that's why you tune in to find out. Maybe, since they won so much in the original movies, that went to their head and it's a winning mentality now. I don't know. Watch the show and find out. That's kind of where dramatic narrative tension comes from. You don't need to know everything going into it.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I think this will be just like Cobra Kai in the sense of you could go in having not seen the original Mighty Ducks and just enjoy it, but you get more enjoyment out of it coming from that background and seeing, all right, these are where the characters are now, and it is, but it isn't a continuation of the story. And in that sense, I think it might actually be up your alley, Michael. But you are
Okay.
a curmudgeon at times.
I am. I know that, and that's the best part is that I don't purposely ever waste time.
Now, I'm not gonna lie. There's gonna be a large section of our audience that are really, really excited for this, and there's also gonna be a large section of our audience that really, really hate this. I'm on the side that thinks this is a good idea. And now I just lost half of you. So Robert Rodriguez recently just came back on everybody's radar after that amazing Boba Fett episode of The Mandalorian, but for us 90s babies, he'll always be the guy that did Spy Kids, and then you grow up realizing he did Machete and a whole bunch of adult movies.
Yeah.
But Robert Rodriguez is like the king of action, and the entire Spy Kids trilogy is amazing. No, we do not count Spy Kids 4 with Joel McHale. That didn't happen. We don't acknowledge that. Well, it's getting rebooted, but at least this time it's getting rebooted by the original director, Robert Rodriguez. This is all because of that Netflix movie that did well recently with The Mandalorian. The Shark Boy and Lava Girl revisited all those years later. I think that's the only reason Spy Kids is coming back. That being said, I'm not mad at it. Spy Kids is a really fun and creative concept, and it was pretty well executed for all three of them. I know the critics didn't particularly love Spy Kids 3, Game Over, but I don't care. I had fun with that one too. I actually think the best one is the second one, Island of Dreams.
Excuse me? You think the second one is the best one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Which one do you think is the best? The fourth one with Joel McHale?
No, the first one. I
No,
don't understand. I don't understand.
the first one is fine, but let's see. The second one they fight giant creatures from like Jason and the Argonauts versus thumb people.
I like Floops Fooglies. I don't understand why this is even a debate. Okay, so yeah, you lost. You
Also,
had me.
also
You had me.
the second one has Steve Buscemi saying, "Do you think God sits up in heaven because he's afraid of what he created?" In a kids movie, like, come on, what kind of line is that for a
Okay, to
kids
be honest
movie?
with you, I don't care about the second or the third or the fourth one. I've also forgotten that line. That's a good point. But I watched the first one twice in theaters, and then I convinced my grandmother to buy me a ticket to watch the special edition because I don't know if you remember this. The first one was such a big hit, they re-released it with a special edition. It was basically a director's cut.
Wow, Robert
And
Rodriguez was born to fill George Lucas's shoes.
yes, what? It was really cool. Yeah, I love the first movie, man. It's iconic, but it's the best one by far. What are you expecting from something like this, though? In this age of remakes, reboots, returns, what have you? Like, what do you want to see as a fan then?
I was gonna say what happens to Carmen and Junie's kids, but they already did adult Carmen and Junie in the fourth one. I never saw it, but I know that they're in it. Plus,
Mhm.
I don't think Alexa Vega is still in acting. She has kids now. She apparently I discovered recently she's married to one of the guys from Big Time Rush, which that's a blast from the past. And Junie's married to Megan Trainor. I don't think he's still acting.
Or
Um,
what? He's married to Megan Trainor.
yep. Also, because I have to tie it into Halloween somehow, Junie is in the Halloween remake from 2007 by Rob Zombie. He's the first person that gets killed by Michael Myers, and it's kind of gratifying because he's a dick in that movie. Um, which that's a whole other side tangent there, but I would say make it about their kids, but they've already treaded that route. Plus, um, I don't think those people are acting anymore. So maybe do some other family. Also, the big thing with Spy Kids, and I'm sure it will continue, is how many famous people they get to be in these movies. You've got Carla Gugino as the mom, Antonio Banderas as the dad, Machete. I'm sure he's got a name. I just call him Machete.
Mhm.
You've got Cheech Marin. Especially the third one, you had Sylvester Stallone. You had Steve Buscemi in the second one. You had Bill Paxton at one point. And I'm sure that'll continue. Getting back to what I would want to see, I don't know, just some other family, maybe? There's just a lot of interesting possibilities. Maybe something with the head of the OSS has kids that want to become agents, but they're like, no, we know what the world is like. And they go on a mission without their parents' permission or something, so the parents have to go rescue the kids this time instead of the kids having to rescue the parents.
Mhm.
Spitballing off the top of my head.
I mean, I think that's yeah. I mean, it depends on what they can bring back. I mean, they all but tried to bring Lizzie McGuire back, so the idea of maybe putting a lot of money on the plate and say, "Hey, are you really sure you're done acting?"
Well,
That would be a good incentive, I guess.
it's also a matter of we have to keep in mind what the story might be because this movie, while we have grown up with Spy Kids, it's kind of like a Star Wars situation of because we grew up with it, we want it to now be for us. Spy Kids will
Mhm.
never be for adults. That's what other Robert Rodriguez movies are for. This is still supposed to be targeted for children. Like I know some people are against this because they're just like, no, you'll ruin the original. As much as I love the original, they're not beyond repair. They're not perfect movies. And I know a large grouping of people that really like Shark Boy and Lava Girl, or they like the new one, We Can Be Heroes, because they're just fun for kids. So I think that's something very important to remember here, because so many people, especially with reboots of stuff that they watch as kids, they want it to age up with them. And that's not always the case, nor should it be, because some things that were meant for kids are supposed to stay for kids, and that's fine. Not Mighty Ducks, DuckTales got rebooted. That was still for kids, and that's fine. I don't know. I think this is a good thing, But maybe this time, Robert Rodriguez, I know you like to do the special effects yourself.
Hmm.
Maybe hire an outside source to do the special effects for you so they don't look like they were done on 2005 computers.
Yeah. Yeah, this I don't know, man. Like, is there gonna be a point at which like this type of stuff, this nostalgic, binge that we're on, is it gonna start to become predictable? I mean, honestly, like I say this as a little bit of a jab, but I mean, it's gonna be not be long until we have to reboot the first Fast and the Furious movie.
Well, that series is wrapping up. I wouldn't be surprised if that's why that's wrapping up. We're probably due for a Shrek reboot at any day now because that's 20 years old.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, like I know it was that constant thing of like, can we just get a new IP? But then when new IPs come out, there's not as much money made on them, so people are like, oh man, it's like, oh, we want something new, but then we don't pay for it. And then when something is asked to be rebooted, we whine and complain, but then we all go and spend our money on it. So what's the incentive? Is that why would you spend money and time and resources on trying to develop something new when you actually have something good? I just am questioning what properties they're choosing to reboot or refreshen is all.
Well,
Is there?
here's the thing with reboots, and I'm
Mhm.
sure I'm going to get some heat for this. I think we're getting better with how we approach reboots or remakes because we're getting to that era now that it's not big wigs and suits are the ones behind reboots and remakes. I mean, they're still involved to a certain extent, but now you've got people that grew up with the originals that want to put their own spin on things. I said it before, I'll say it again. Cobra Kai is a great reboot slash continuation. The Force Awakens is a great reboot slash continuation. Halloween 2018. We're getting to the point where fans of the originals are the ones being put in charge of remaking it, but also it could be people that have different voices from the original material, which is awesome. So, we've had some bad remakes, and that will never change. But remakes are nothing new, and remakes are not going away because there's money to be made there. And remakes, in and of themselves, are not bad things. I've said that forever because some remakes are better than the original. John Carpenter's The Thing is a remake, and it's a masterpiece. It's so good. Ocean's 11 is a remake, and it's better than the original. Sometimes that is, in fact, allowed. And I think remakes are not the scary word that they used to be. You should still go in with caution, but just because something's getting remade or rebooted doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means it's the end of the world if Michael Bay's the one producing it.
Do you think that there are IPs out there that are immune from this? Not because they're good,
Wizard of
but it's
Oz.
just okay. Oh, yeah, it's just
There's a
because
couple.
they're the
There's a couple.
fan base, right? Okay.
Wizard of Oz. I think Back to the Future is untouchable. Legally, I think it's untouchable. I think Robert Zemeckis made sure that he's like, as long as I am alive, you cannot reboot Back to the Future. I'm sure there's some others that I'm just not thinking of, but there are some that I feel like are still sacred. But
And you don't think they'd ever like have a reboot? Like, and I'm talking not bring it back. Maybe I should be more specific. Talking about a re-envisioning of what the original was. Do you think in our lifetime we'd ever see people try to, on a massive scale, try to, I don't know, course correct like a Star Wars or Lord of the Rings? I'm not talking about they need it, but do you think those are like the untouchable IPs?
well, you could still say Force Awakens is basically a reboot of A New Hope, and plenty of people have said that. I don't
Hmm.
necessarily fully agree, but Halloween 2018 echoes a lot of the story beats of the 78 classic. I think that's a part of remakes nowadays is just copy a lot from the original, but change it up a little bit so it doesn't look like I'm copying your homework type of thing.
Okay, that's fair. That makes sense then. Okay.
Well, this week's episode is brought to you by, I don't know, Disney Plus. Go watch WandaVision because next week we'll talk about how I may have accidentally been right about something in my Fantastic Four
Again.
predictions of all things. Because not going to spoil anything here. and they don't outright say it. I'm gonna have my tinfoil hat for that, but I may have been right about something about the Fantastic Four of all things. Well, Michael and I talk about this often, but one of our favorite things about movies and the movie world is trailers. Trailers are a beautiful thing. More often than not, the trailers are better than the actual movies themselves. There's one guy in particular that I'm going to bring up a few times today that I genuinely love almost all of his trailers, but I'm still kind of iffy on his movies. We've already talked about him earlier today. But today we're going to be talking about the best trailers ever, best slash our favorite, because they're kind of the same, and also, Michael and I have quite a bit of overlap, if I am understanding this, because a lot of the trailers that came out, we would it's in that era that we would watch them together when we were in proximity of each other, not necessarily roommates, but in proximity of each other.
No, absolutely, we will. And just for the sake of consistency, if Nate brings up one or vice versa, we'll just talk about it then and there instead of just belaying it down the road. Because this is something for me. It's my favorite part about movies. I love it. I love the idea of the journey just as much as the destination, but I really love the journey.
So, let's get some honorable mentions out of the way. It's ridiculously too long, and that's why I don't know if I count it as a trailer or like a behind the scenes, but it's always considered a trailer, and that's the Psycho trailer for the 1960s classic by Alfred Hitchcock. Michael, are you familiar at all with what the Psycho trailer is or was?
Not the trailer. I'm familiar with the movie, but not the trailer.
So the original trailer for Psycho was basically Alfred Hitchcock walking the grounds of the Bates Motel and the house and everything else, and describing events in the movie without saying spoilers. Like he would be walking up the stairs of the house and just going, and this is where the tragedy struck. Or he'd be in the bathroom where the shower is, and he'd go, and this is where the bad thing happened, yada yada, and just going around. But it was one of the first really trailers of its kind to kind of hint at what was coming. And it's legendary, the marketing campaign for Psycho, of no one was allowed into theater after the doors closed, and once the movie started, you couldn't enter. You had to be on time, which, can we please go back to that? I would love that, because nothing annoys me more than when people are late and just, excuse me, let me walk right in front of you. Like, guys, the movie started 20 minutes ago. That's including trailers. But the Psycho trailer is it's iconic. It's incredibly well known. It's the most unique trailer that we'll talk about today, and I almost kind of borderline on it's a behind-the-scenes video, more so than a trailer, but that's neither here nor there. My other honorable mention is it's still too recent for me to consider one of the best of all time. However, it got me so hyped that I almost lost my voice on first viewing, and that is, of course, Matt Reeves' The Batman trailer, because I love that moment when he's beating the crap out of the goon. Who the hell are you? And you think with every fiber in your being, he's going to say the Batman, because that's just what Batman's done. Beats the crap out of him. I'm vengeance. I think I squealed like a 5-year-old kid and cried tears of joy going back to, Batman, the animated series, he did the thing. Besides that, the trailer's just masterful and absolutely gives away who the secret villain is. Who? The trailer's just wonderful. I have watched it more times than it's healthy to watch this trailer, and they've even said that this is only 25% of the movie was filmed when they released this trailer, but oof, the Batman trailer is one of, if not the best DC trailer, but that's not necessarily true, that we'll talk about today.
Not at all. Yes, it's funny, is I had that as one of my honorable mentions too, for that very reason, just so different. That's the best part about that for me, as someone who's not a comic book fan and someone that is like, okay, we've seen Batman, okay, I'm starting to get a little fatigued, and then we saw this trailer, and I'm like, I'm not fatigued. I am very much intrigued by this. Wow, very different from what we've seen. So that's why, for me, it was very impactful because it was refreshing. It was completely different than any other iteration that I've seen in live action. That's just me. I I want to give a shout out because I follow these or at least Ridley Scott's Alien franchise pretty closely, and I will say that the first trailer for that first like teaser that came out for Alien Covenant definitely seemed like a course correction for the series, and I watched that a lot. That came out on like Christmas Day, I believe it was Christmas Day a few years ago, and so that or way back in I think it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day 2016, and I was hyped for that. That was then obviously
You saw the
disappointed
movie.
later. Yeah, then I saw the movie, and like that's the whole thing in it itself. Is like we can either do bad trailers for really good movies or really great trailers for just horrible ones. And then I will add on this list not because it blew my mind, and then they reshot the movie and ruined it. It was 2015. I was in the parking lot at my job. We were in between our junior and senior year, and Comic-Con was going on, and they released the first look at Suicide Squad, and
Oh, not where I thought you were going with that.
it blew my mind. That first trailer is so dark and so eerie, and the way they introduced the Joker with Jared Leto in that at the very end I mean, it gave me chills. I mean, honestly, it was one of those ones I've watched the most. But as far as like the other ones, they mean more to me, and I'll get into it. But yeah, then they ruined the movie when they reshot it. So uh, it's also why it gets knocked down to honorable mentions.
So, when you said trailers for a movie that got reshot, that you love the trailer and were hoping that you were going to like the movie, I thought you were actually going to say Rogue One.
Oh yes. No, I mean, listen, my personal feelings aside, Rogue One's still a very good movie. It just could have been so much better.
Yeah, definitely agree to disagree on that one. But at least all Star Wars fans can go, Vader slaughtering innocent people's fun. Um, all right, I'll kick us off. You talked about earlier with Alien Covenant. I'll go with Prometheus. I
Yes.
thought that first trailer, when at the time they're still going, this isn't an alien movie, this isn't an alien movie, then why are you doing a trailer that copies the alien music of the screams with the text popping up on screen? It's like, are you sure this isn't an alien movie, despite what you keep telling us? But all your actual opinions on Prometheus as a movie aside, and I still remember you and I talked about this at length in college, because I remember saying, I hated this movie, it sucks. And you're like, it's fine, it's fine. They'll answer all the questions in the next one. You naive young boy. Um, Also, I say this to Zack Snyder too. If your movie depends on you answering questions in the next movie to support the narrative of your first movie, it's not that good of a movie. Um,
It's very true.
but Prometheus, I don't love the movie. That first trailer is hauntingly beautiful. It's creepy. It's ominous. It's it's what the movie should have been, because you couldn't see the stupidity of people in a trailer. Yeah, I really like that first Prometheus trailer. Specifically the first one. We'll have to clarify for some of these, and some of these will have multiple trailers for the same movie. But that first Prometheus trailer was real creepy, and I was all about it. And then I saw the movie.
Yeah, it's on my list too. Yes, it's 2012 Prometheus, the very first one. It's just over a minute long. It sets the mood. The visuals for this being almost 8 years ago, they're stunning. I mean, that's the one thing we know about Ridley Scott. I mean, just shoots amazing film, and he gets some of the best effects in film with mix of practical effects and CGI. Like this movie still holds up. Well, I mean, it's only 8 years old, but I mean, for that era, it's at well ahead of its time, visually speaking. And listen, jury's still out on what he's trying to tell. Obviously, he's going after a lot of like more like higher themes, kind of like in a way like what I criticize Nolan of sometimes. But I followed the development of this film my entire sophomore year of high school and my junior year, it came around where they were starting to like just figure out like, hey, this is coming together. I mean, listen, I didn't pay attention at all during my junior language course, language class, because I was constantly reading online of like, okay, what's the latest from the production set, and then the trailer came out, and I lost my mind. I showed all of my friends this, and I couldn't wait, and then I went and watched it, and like you said, and then I was like, huh, well, that was certainly disappointing.
I'm not gonna lie. To comfort you in your, I studied this every single day, only for the movie to not be so great. I have the exact same experience as you of not paying attention, except at least in mine, it was in study hall, in which case it was right before Photoshop class, so I always had access to a computer. So every single day on that laptop, I would check for Dark Knight Rises updates because
Oh
Dark Knight
no.
was one of the most impactful movies in my life. I'm just going, it's got to be great. And there's some weird rumors at the very early stages of The Dark Knight Rises, like Robin Williams will be the Riddler, or Warner Brothers wants Leonardo DiCaprio as the villain. And I absorbed all of it, just going, I know everything that's going to happen. I need to know. And the internet was right on a lot of the things. Of it was spoiled for me pretty early on that Talia al Ghul was going to be in it, but also you could see that one coming a mile away. And then I saw the movie, and I still think it's not that bad. Everyone makes it out as awful, and it's not one of Nolan's better ones, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. It's not good, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. It's eh. It's got some good scenes, but that first teaser trailer, it's not one we'll talk about today, but that first teaser trailer where Jim Gordon's in the hospital, I dig that one. And I watched that one an unhealthy amount, maybe 2 or 3 times a day for a solid 6 months. It was, yeah, I have an unhealthy relationship with Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, this actually made my list.
Did
For
it?
all, yeah, it did. It made my list because, I mean, look at the hype. I mean, I was pretty much. I mean, I didn't see the Dark Knight until very late because it's just something my parents didn't want me to watch. My
Mm.
parents are a little more conservative, and they didn't want me to watch
Oh no,
a
I
lot
don't
of that
blame him.
stuff. Yeah, and I'm glad, obviously, because Joker is pretty sinister, and he's not. It's not a gory film. Dark Knight, meaning it's not a gory film. It's not like super adult as far as like content. It's not like Goodfellas or something, But what he does and like the themes is very mature. And as a middle schooler, my mom's like, "Nope, you are not going to watch that film." So like then I was really grateful. So I watched it, I think my senior year of high school, and then I was like, wow, that was really good. And then this trailer came out, and I'm like, wow, I need to see this. And the whole idea that the football field imploding, the bridges blowing up, the shot of the bat wing or the version of the bat wing, and like and then hearing all the
The
stuff
bat.
on like they did it practically, like it was stunning. Like no, everyone in my high school was like, we need to see this movie now. So that it's just because it's not necessarily that I was blown away myself with the trailer. It's what everyone else was doing, and that's what made it so exciting.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why that trailer registered for so many people is the hype. There was so much hype for Dark Knight Rises. Like, cast your mind back, guys. We didn't have Avengers yet. That came out later that year.
Nope. Yep.
2012 was a good year. Um,
It was.
so yeah, we weren't deprived of superhero movies, but like it wasn't every 3 months like it is now. Um, let's go with one that isn't a superhero movie, but it features a superhuman nonetheless who does all kinds of nuts things. One, Timothy Cruise. Tom, obviously. Mission Impossible Fallout. That first teaser, where it's, oh, like, how do I describe the music? It opens with like, who's the villain from 5 and 6? Who's like, um,
Oh, you're
the
gonna make me do it.
the fallout of all your transgressions. Um,
Lane.
your mission. Yeah.
Nathan Lane.
Yeah. He says something about like, your mission. Should you choose to accept? Did you ever choose not to? Here's the fallout of all your failures, or something like that. And then the music kicks in, and it's like this like guitar version of the Mission Impossible theme with a really cool song in the background. Um, and then my hero, not Tom Cruise, the beautiful man that is Henry Cavill shows up, and him and Tom Cruise are fighting in that bathroom against that stunt double. And not Tom Cruise, Henry Cavill does that thing that only he really can pull off, in which case he cocks his arms to reload. He does that. You're like,
Yeah.
that doesn't really make sense, but please do it again. And also, guys, go back and watch that clip. It's available in a GIF form somewhere, I'm sure. When he cocks his arms, he somehow magically grows a beard. Like, his beard becomes fuller. I'm not even joking. Like, either the way that they shot it or, like, his chin flex or something to bring up stuff. But when he pumps his arms, a beard magically shows up on his face. It's the funniest GIF ever. But that trailer is amazing. And I love Fallout. Love me some Henry Cavill. And, of course, it ends where they spoil the fact that Henry Cavill's the bad guy because you're shooting at Tom Cruise, but you see Tom Cruise hanging from a helicopter, which you know because he's nuts, he's actually doing that. That trailer highlights all the nuts stuff that he's going to be doing in this. Like, he's going to get hit by a car, he's going to fall off a helicopter. Hey, look, this is the shot where he broke his ankle. We know you heard about that. We put it in the trailer for you guys because he's nuts. Are you seeing it yet? You should. It's a great trailer. It got me wanting to see Fallout, which I already was, but it was so good.
I went to movies looking forward to seeing this trailer ahead of the movies. I mean, it was that good. This didn't make my honorable mentions because I'm already representing the franchise in this list. It was one of the better ones, and I liked it much more. The thing is, I don't have any memory of Rogue Nation's trailer at all, really, for the most part.
I really don't have a lot of memories of Rogue Nation.
It's really good. It's being hidden because like MI4 was like a breath of fresh air, and then Fallout was so unbelievably good. We forget that Rogue Nation was also really, really good. I've already mentioned this, and I want to stick in the same franchise. For me, it's Mission Impossible 4, Ghost Protocol, because I knew what Mission Impossible was, because I grew up with people, it was a 90s movie, and then I knew what it was because it was a big action film, Tom Cruise, he was in a lot of stuff growing up
and
in elementary school.
And a TV series that all of our parents watched.
Exactly. But when I went to see superhero movies, when I went to see just any movie that came out in 2011, 2010, and they showed the Burj Khalifa, and they showed the shots that they did, and it was like, what is this movie? Like Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, and I was like, okay, guys, 1, I'm gonna buy my ticket now. 2, I need to go and watch all the other Mission Impossible films, which I did. This trailer alone forced me to go watch the other 3 films, and which I really enjoyed. I mean, come on, who doesn't like Lawrence Fishburne saying, "I'd bleed on the flag to keep the stripes red"? I mean, come on, that's one of the most patriotic lines of all time in the 3rd one. So
I was going to say that's in the 3rd one. I don't remember that one very well from the 4th one.
No, Ghost Protocol. I mean, and that was a movie that delivered too. And so, yeah, that trailer for me, I mean, the fact that a trailer can make me go watch the rest of the franchise, I mean, that's indicative of what a marketing team is supposed to do. And yeah, that shot where the helicopter's flying over the Burj Khalifa, and you're like, tallest building in the world. Oh, and he's gonna do what now? Oh my gosh, man! Like, it gave me chills.
So you said a trailer can make you do something. Watch the 6 degrees of separation here. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, still my favorite one of the franchise, directed by Brad Bird. Brad Bird also did Get the Jar Out, Iron Giant. The Iron Giant also appeared in the Ready Player One trailer. I had no idea what Ready Player One was at all. I heard a whole bunch of people talk about it. And then the trailer comes out, and it shows this, like, video game character standing next to the Iron Giant on a hill. I'm like, I don't know what Ready Player One is, but I need to read this entire book, like, now, because I need to know what magic the Iron Giant is doing, because anything Iron Giant I must consume into my soul. Spoiler alert, Iron Giant isn't in the book. Biggest mismarketing ever. I was so pissed. Let's get back to something better, though. Let's not do the sad one yet. Let's do the one that, if they had awards for best trailer, this would probably win the Oscar, because I feel like this movie itself won quite a few Oscars. it's the only time I've thought, well, I won't say that. He's been good in some other things, but typically, I'm not the biggest Jesse Eisenberg fan. I normally hate him. I think he's really, really annoying. I thought he was the worst Lex Luthor. He's fine in Zombieland. I actually kind of like him in Zombieland. But he plays unlikable really, really well in The Social Network. And that first trailer, I didn't have Facebook at the time. I didn't know anything about Facebook. I was with some friends in high school when we saw it. And they must have already seen the trailer because one of them leans over to me and she's like, "Oh, I'm really, really excited for this one. I can't wait to see this one." I was like, I have no idea what's happening here. And as the trailer's finishing up, I was like, I still don't know what this is about. I know what Facebook is, but was there issues when they made Facebook? Okay, sure. I didn't get around to seeing it many, many years later, but that first trailer immediately tells you everything you need to know about the movie of, was Facebook a stolen idea? Was it this? Was it that? The music is haunting. It's the antithesis to typical trailer music, which is like big, bombastic. You must see this. This is like slow, deliberate. It told a story within itself and also didn't give away anything. It was a pretty, really, really well-made trailer for a movie that I had no desire to see, but the trailer at least made me curious about it, and that's the job of a trailer.
No, absolutely. And I remember how it should have ended also, even crediting how good the movie was and also the trailer to that when that whole series was really, really popular about a decade ago. Yeah, I remember seeing like the trailer for this and thinking, well, that's interesting. And it wasn't until many years later that I watched it. Also spurred on to the fact that, it was written by Aaron Sorkin. And I was like, okay, well, I need to watch it right now. So there was, man, I'll say this. What a great movie. And I don't know how accurate it was, but it's nice in this particular sense that we're covering many different genres and different approaches. And I think that's the job of a marketing team is to understand the vision. And if they don't understand the vision of what the movie's for, like what the purpose is, it can really lead to some disparate views between the marketing team and the actual team making the film. And then that's what would translate over to the audience. It's like, wow, like this is not what I thought it was going to be. And you're right, like it was very compelling. I don't have a lot of memories about it, but I do remember seeing it. And this is amazing, though. We're talking about film like trailers we haven't seen in like a decade, but that's the result of great teams. Like they stick with you. There's moments, and I think that's just a testament to those who just hit it out of the park.
Mm-hmm. What you got next on your list?
Yeah, so I don't know if there's I will go back a ways because growing up, elementary school, a very small private school, we didn't have a lot of resources. There weren't a lot of field trip days. Well, this particular day, right before the holiday break, we go up to watch a really stupid nature documentary at the IMAX theater that's in our state capital because I still live in a town that's really small. We don't have an IMAX theater. So one, the field trip is special. Two, IMAX theater, very special. Three, documentary, I don't care, we'll take it. I just want to be out of school and we're going to go to an IMAX theater. Well, before we see this documentary, they play some trailers. And one of those trailers, and you said you're going to lose some people as Spy Kids. You're absolutely going to lose. I'm going to lose people here too, so I apologize. The year is 2004, right before the holidays. It's a movie starring Tom Hanks like 8 times, and that's the Polar Express. That trailer to that.
The Nightmare Fuel.
It was in 3D because it was a 3D documentary, nature documentary. It was so well done. And I was like, I told my mom after this trip, I said, Mom, you, Dad, and I need to go watch this movie. And I remember the trailer, and then I remember going and watching the movie. I remember where we ate dinner afterwards. Like, I remember all that stuff. And seriously, man, if you want to watch a fantastic trailer to a film, 2004 Polar Express, amazing. Also, my second favorite Christmas movie of all time. I'm one of the dissenters. I know. I love the film. It will forever be one of my favorites.
You can redeem yourself, though. You said it's your second. What's your favorite Christmas movie? There is a right answer here.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's the right answer, but it's the only answer for me, and that's the original Rudolph.
That's not the correct answer.
Come on. Claymation, like the Rudolph, it's iconic.
That's not even the best Rankin and Bass movie. A year without a Santa Claus? Come on. No, the
All right.
best Christmas movie ever is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That cat had 9 lives and just spent them all.
I've seen the movie once, and I never want to see that movie ever again. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll probably never be
People
back
at
on the
home,
podcast. Huh?
do we need to vote Michael out?
To
Because
try
this
to
is
smoke
heresy.
it.
You are literally the only person I've ever met that does not like Christmas Vacation because you have no soul. Come
It's
on.
funny. Like I'll say, it has some of the funnier moments, but I'm like I don't really have any desire to watch it again.
You would
I'm sorry,
rather
buddy.
watch Rudolph than Christmas Vacation.
It's a family thing. Let's blame my family. I grew up with it. It's
Rudolph's
my
barely a
tradition.
movie. It's like 30 minutes.
But it was done in like the 50s. I mean, and it
Yeah,
was like a
so?
TV special. All
Snow
right,
White
all
was done before that, and that's a full-length movie.
right. Okay. All
Okay. While I'm sad right now because of Michael. Let's stay sad and talk about Logan.
right.
Because, oh my gosh, my heart fell into 1,000,000,000 pieces when that first Logan trailer came with Johnny Cash's Hurt playing in the background. Because as soon as you start it, you're just like, oh, cool, it's a new X-Men movie. I can't wait. I hurt myself today. You're like,
Mm,
oh,
mm.
oh. Are you feeling okay? To see if I still feel. Oh, oh. Is everyone gonna die in this? Yes. Yes. If you think you're gonna get attached to any character, don't. Because I liked but didn't love the X-Men movies. They're very hit or miss. But through the constant through all of that was Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. That was like the best thing about all those movies. So to hear he's going away after this one, this is his final one, you already come in with the really, really heavy emotions. And then you get the most emotional song ever written, Johnny Cash's version of Nine Inch Nails' Hurt, and you're like, already, this is very different. Like, I know James Mangold did The Wolverine, which was fine, but this doesn't feel like a comic book movie. This feels more like just a drama of a hurt man with his hurt father figure who are doing one last road trip. This feels so different. There's very little action. It's a lot of shots of characters. It really reflects on this will be the last time you see these characters. Go into this movie expecting sadness because that is what you will walk away with. But it's a sad movie, but it's a good movie. I still think it's one of the best comic book movies ever made. I came out of that theater, one, with my eyes absolutely in tears. I don't even care that I was with people. I was just like, ugh, gutted, but in the best possible way. Like, I'm only going to watch this every couple of years because it's such a tough watch. But that trailer immediately reinforced to you that forget everything you know about the X-Men movies because this is something different. This is something special. This is a goodbye. It ain't going to be an easy goodbye, but it's the goodbye that all the people involved have deserved and needed.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember that. I remember the effect that it had on a lot of people. I know that we talked about it at the time. Marketing wise, certainly one of the best trailers of all time, and the movie didn't disappoint as far as like the tone. It did not betray the tone of the trailer. They let you know very early on what to expect. Totally get it. Totally get why you'd put it on there, and it goes to show that trailers can have multiple different effects on people and still get you to come to the theater for it. Movie that I didn't go. I mean, I went and saw because I listen. I'm sorry. I went and saw this movie because because of the trailer, and I hadn't seen the other two in theaters. I actually watched them on like I think it was like FX or something. So there was the first one in the franchise that I went and saw because I thought the trailer was really good. Listen, you're gonna hate me for it, but it's epic, and that is 2011's trailer for the 2012 film Transformers: Dark of the Moon. That trailer is magnificent. I mean, it ends with the Transformers taking down a building in Chicago, and they're like, okay, this movie's probably going to be stupid, which it was, but I want to see that and the effects, and I want to see the practical effects. I want to see it all, and it didn't disappoint. There are some breathtaking shots that he gets in this third movie. There's also some of the dumbest things you'll ever see in the franchise.
Mm.
But my goodness, the first trailer to Dark of the Moon is phenomenal. I remember it was one of the first ones I actually downloaded because my parents got like an HD monitor, and I was like, I want to watch this, and of course back then 720p glory, and I was like, my gosh, like this is amazing, like the effects are great, and I'm like, I got to watch that building collapse again. So I know I probably lost some respect there, man, but hey, he got
No,
me. It's
no.
it's it's big colors and action.
I'm so glad you brought that up because while I don't have any of the Transformers ones on my list, the third one is where I tapped out. The third one I thought was stupid. That's where I stopped with Transformers movies because I was
Sure.
tired of getting baited. But Michael Bay, I don't think he makes good movies, but he makes outstanding trailers, and I think that's like 50% of the success of the Transformers movies is suckering people in going, this will be better than the last one because look at this thing that you see in a trailer. Doesn't that look awesome?
Right.
And then that worked for the first 3 or 4 movies, and then people got tired of the shtick of, okay, the trailers are good, but the movies are terrible, so we're just not going to go. And then I think it was The Last Night didn't do very well, so they needed to reboot it, and then they did Bumblebee, yay. Um, yeah, I think Michael Bay makes fantastic trailers, and I think that comes from his commercial background because he did commercials before he did movies. So he's used to condensing stuff and just have the cool looking stuff. It's when he has to flesh the cool looking stuff out. I think his storytelling prowess is kind of hit or miss, but visually, his stuff is spectacular. Like, he knows how to make things feel epic and grand and scale, like a certain somebody else. Let's talk about one Zachary
Oh, here we
Snyder.
go. I
I was
knew it
about to
was
say
coming.
Zachary Q. Snyder, Zachary Quinto Snyder. I actually have 2 Zack Snyder movies we'll talk about today. I'll go with the one that I'm pretty sure is not on Michael's list. The Watchmen trailer.
Yeah,
I did not
definitely not on my list.
I did not grow up reading The Watchmen, nor should any child grow up reading Watchmen. It is a phenomenal comic that changed the industry, but it is not for children. The only reason I remember seeing the trailer so often is because I watched, like you did with your Mighty Ducks, I watched my Dark Knight DVD to death over and over and over again. At the beginning of the DVD, they always had a trailer for Watchmen because that was the next comic book related movie. And it's like, I have known nothing about this world, but this trailer, it's hypnotic. I'm like sucked in with the slow-mo and the music. And having now read Watchmen and seen the movie, which I actually think is one of Zack Snyder's better movies, I really actually like Watchmen quite a bit. Just seeing the shot-for-shot, painstaking recreations of the comics, it just like sucks you in. You don't know, even if you don't know anything about Watchmen, you're like, this is different. It's slower, hypnotic. It's bizarre. It's different. It's captivating. I don't know what is happening, but I want to know what's happening. But we'll save the other. Do you want to talk about the other Snyder one that's on both of our lists? Or do you want to save that one for
Yes.
later?
No, let's talk about it now because and I'll just tease it into it. It's something that I won't hide it. It's the first, at least for me, it's the first 2 teasers that were split between Paul Kent and I guess was it not Cal El, but
Jor-El.
yeah, Joel. Teasers for Man of Steel. I mean, not just the fact that I think it's perfect. I think like it's a perfect teaser. There's not one wasted shot or dialogue, and then you borrowed the Bridge of Casa Doom,
Mm-hmm.
death sequence music from Gandalf. Shut up. We watched this. I came down, I talked to you about it, and then went back to my dorm room and watched it again. I had this on repeat. I sent this to my dad because my dad's a massive Superman fan, and my dad and I talked about it. And this hit every single beat it needed to, and it's not like it gets you excited because it hits you in that awe-inspiring way, and there's also like a hint of just a little bit of somberness in there just to kind of like tie it like to kind of like tie all the emotions together. I mean, it almost brought tears in a way. Like that's the emotion it's going for. It's not trying to get you to like raise your fist and like have one of those big Batman moments. It's trying to get you to just sit back and go, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be epic," and that's exactly what it did for me.
I actually have two of the Man of Steel trailers. I love the teaser more than any of the other trailers, but I think it was trailer number 3, which basically kind of outlines what the story will be. It starts with that famous doo doo, and it shows
Oh yeah.
Krypton being destroyed, and then it kind of goes through it. And you get all of that, and the music starts building. You first get that first taste of what the new Superman music will be, and you're like, I really dig this. But you're right, that first teaser trailer, which I kind of lean more towards the Jor-El one, because he almost spits verbatim the lines from All-Star Superman, which, if you want to get to me, it's that trailer, man, of you will give the people an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders. And then he breaks the sound barrier like, hype, hype, hype.
Yes, yes.
Like, it's like, I'm gonna fly watching this. And then you watch the movie, and I will still say the first half is great. I think it's got pacing issues. I think the first half, when he's in learning who he is fantastic. Once somebody brought it to my attention, I can't unsee it, of normally when a superhero, like in my Nightwing story pitch, there's a reason why they upgrade their suit or have to change what their appearance is. They start with one suit and then they get it to a different one later on for whatever reason. In Superman, there's no actual storytelling reason why he wears a Superman suit. It's, hey, I found my parents. This is what they wear on my home planet. It's not like I'm choosing to be Superman now. It's well, here's my outfit. Thanks, Dad. I guess. Can I call you Dad? You feel like a dad to me. And all the action is in the second half, and it's not paced well. But I still really enjoy Man of Steel. But that first teaser trailer, going, oh my gosh, and then all the subsequent trailers making you really think they're gonna just nail Superman. And I still think it's a good Superman 0 year. He's not Superman yet. That's why I'm willing to give Snyder the benefit of the doubt that by the end of Justice League, he will be the Superman that we know and love, because I've said before, the shot of him in the Joss Whedon Justice League when he opens up his shirt and he's got the S, that's a Snyder shot, not a Whedon shot, because Henry Cavill's face looks normal there. I will still go back and watch the Man of Steel trailers because I love them so much and I love Superman so much. Here's the sad thing. Here's my admission for the week. When I hear the Bridge of Khazad-dûm music now, I don't think Bridge of Khazad-dûm, because when I first watched the trailer, I had seen Lord of the Rings numerous times, but the music, it just wasn't registering to me. This is the music when Gandalf dies. When I hear that music, I go, oh yes, that's the Man of Steel trailer music.
That's funny. So I remember telling you that. I'm like, why they borrowed the music from that moment? Yeah.
You mean like how Wonder Woman 1984 borrowed the music from Sunshine for when she gets a special power? But whatever.
Oh, sure. Hey, why not? Hey, it's all in the industry. Yeah, I'm glad. Like, seriously, like this was one of those that we talked about, which for me, there's one more on here that we talked about to death while we were at school.
Let's save that one for last. Let's save those couple for last, because I'm sure it's not one.
Yeah, no, it isn't. I'll flash back to high school. I'll flash back to when I was on vacation with my parents in 2010. And this was the culmination of a massive franchise. And again, it's something that I've never watched trailers in HD at that point. I still had my little iPod Touch, but I was able to get a hand on faster internet and watch it on an HD screen. And that is just very specific. It's the full trailer to both Part 1 and Part 2 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. The first trailer they gave was to both parts, and it is magnificent. As a huge Potter fan, like seeing this and following the development on those films was huge. And that first one, when they previewed both of them, oh my gosh, that I downloaded the trailer music because there's 3 different tracks that were used, and I still have them on my playlist on Spotify to this day because the music is so good, and the visuals are amazing. So yes, 2010 Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 teaser is the full like title of it.
Very nice, very nice. Um, I have got four more. Michael, how many more you got?
Because I went ahead of you, I skipped ahead. No, I
That
have I have three more. I have
Oh,
three more.
okay.
No, okay.
Cool. Then I'll go with one that I know for a fact is not on Michael's list because Michael would never ever watch this movie. But the trailer for this came out when we were in college, and I remember showing it to anybody that would watch it that was even remotely interested in horror because very rarely does a horror trailer ever scare me because all horror trailers are the same. Look at this spooky thing. This thing jumps out at you. Look at Annabelle. Isn't she a creepy doll? No, not really. Look, she blinked. Isn't that creepy? I'm like, I blink. Am I? Don't answer that. But the trailer for a foreign movie, I believe it's a German movie called Good Night, Mommy. Good night, I'm not sleeping tonight. Cause holy jeebus, this was terrifying. So the premise of this movie is there's two boys whose mom recently had plastic surgery, and they believe something's wrong and it is not their actual mother. And this trailer goes to terrifying places very, very quickly. It's not one of those jump and startle you because, gotcha. It's more just like something crawled in your ear and it's burrowing, nestled into your brain, and it will eat away for the rest of your day until you watch this movie. I spent years trying to find this movie because of how terrifying this trailer was. Also, when I did finally watch it, brilliant twist. The really, really good plot twist. And it's a different type of horror. It's not one of those like a slasher like a Halloween or an Annabelle where it's just like, here's the creepy thing, run from the creepy thing. It is a slow burn, but you at some points in this slow burn, you're just hoping for the jump scares just so you can breathe a little bit. But the trailer just keeps building the uncomfortableness, the tension, the nerve-wrackingness. It's just, no, thank you. But yes, thank you at the same time. Michael, I know I sent it to you. Did you brave yourself enough to watch it?
Absolutely not. If it scares you, I want to sleep tonight. I
Probably good.
appreciate the thought though. I will say this. I definitely understand like that adrenaline rush of being scared. I need your help here because the one thing I didn't put on there because I saw the short film on YouTube, which absolutely scared the crap out of me. What was the film that came out like our senior year? At least the trailer
Lights
did.
Out?
Yes, thank you.
Dude,
Um,
don't you ever, people at home, don't you ever tell me that PG-13 movies can't scare the ever-living crap out of you. Because Heather and I watched Insidious, which is PG-13. We're like, it's PG-13. How scary can it be? Nope, nope, nope. And then we made the
terrifying.
same mistake with Lights Out. We're just going, well, I like David F. Sandberg. Shazam was great, because yes, it's by the same guy that did Shazam. And I was doing okay with Lights Out until there's a scene where, of course, the whole thing with Lights Out is the monster only shows up when there's no light. If you turn the light on, it disappears. Well, the kid has all the lights on in his room, so he's safe in his room. He looks over down the hall to where his mom's door is open. It's pitch black. And it's fine. She's just standing in the door. She's like, go to bed, sweetie. And then at the top right corner of the doorway, hands start just like peel open. And then a head like turns from the top right corner of the doorway. And it's, nope, 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 nope. Kid, close the door, go to bed, close the door, go to bed, close the door, go to bed. Because normally in horror movies, they would cut away to the kid and then cut back to there's a creepy thing standing behind mom. But the fact that it actually happened while they're still talking and it wasn't a jump scare, but an actual slow build of, oh God, there's fingers. Why are there fingers on the doorway? Oh, that's a head. Okay, no thank you, no thank you. Yeah, Lights Out. Watch the short film. I don't think you can handle the movie, dude. The movie's great.
The short film is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. I showed it to Dan, I showed it to Jonathan, I showed it to Jared, and they all were like, "Oh my gosh!" I mean, how it's amazing. The thing's like 2 minutes. Like that's what's insane is that the tension right away. I mean, the way they do the short film, it's basically a trailer in a way because how short it is. And I watched this, and like within 10 seconds, you're like, oh, oh, Lord, please. And at the end, oh my gosh, like so. I get it. Like,
So
there's only certain things where I like feeling that way, but today wasn't one of them. So I had to pass on
So,
watching that trailer.
I'm glad you bring it up. For those that don't know, David F. Sandberg, the guy that did Lights Out, that did Shazam, that did Annabelle Creation, he actually started as a YouTuber. And he still is actually on YouTube to this day, still making videos from time to time. Search it, Pony Smasher. He has a whole bunch of different videos. He did a video a few weeks ago that I really liked. Was called "Can You Be an Introverted Director?" Where he's just like, "Hey, I make big budget movies. I'm introverted and I don't like people. But I still direct stuff. You can make it work." Or he'll just do really low budget how-to stuff because he still makes horror short films with his wife in his free time when he's not making, Shazam and other big budget movies. He's a really, really chill dude. He's got this really, really funny one I need to send you about how test screenings work and why he hates them. He's a really cool dude. So if you guys haven't checked it out, Pony Smasher on YouTube. David F. Sandberg is a really, really funny dude.
But you should probably subscribe to this channel first before you go do that. I just want to say.
Fair enough.
Alrighty. So keeping with our college era, because of the hype and success of its predecessor, I was counting down the hours, minutes, and seconds to this movie's teaser release, as well as my roommates. And in fact, this was one of the bigger trailer debuts of all time because of the amount of views it racked up, and that's the Age of Ultron teaser from 2014. That trailer did an amazing job of selling the film. I mean, the fact that it wrapped up was like the highest, at that time it set the record for the most views in 24 hours, as it should, because that trailer was excellent. I remember like that trailer was like, was an announcement like tickets are on sale. I bought tickets opening night, IMAX, to go see it in the middle of a college school year and finals. Of course I did. Why would I not do that? In fact, Nate, we actually drove out of state because we went up to Indiana to that IMAX, and I can't remember what that IMAX is that was closer to school, but it was like an hour away. So I remember that trailer at the end of that teaser, like tickets were on sale. So I don't know, man. I didn't really care for Age of Ultron that much, but I thought the trailer was really, really good.
Yeah, I think Age of Ultron's the weakest of all the Avengers movies. Is that trailer the one where Ultron has the "There Are No Strings on Me" at the end? Yeah.
Yes.
That was good. There's no way Age of Ultron was ever going to live up to the heights of the original Avengers. But yeah, that first trailer made you think that, oh, maybe they can do it.
Exactly. Yeah, they did everything they could. And again, marketing teams, and that's a wonder is that here's the thing though you have to ask, because I know that it's not all the time that for in particular like these studios, they have marketing teams that take this and then they're the ones that cut it. It's actually not the director, but is that just
Suicide
based
Squad?
is that based on the contract that the director signs, or if a director's big enough like Nolan? Is Nolan or is Spielberg, are they directing their own trailers at all?
Very rarely, no, because I know a lot of directors will often go out and go, yeah, we didn't really dig this trailer. One that I thought was really interesting one time was Jason Blum, who's not a director, but he's a producer. He's the head of Blumhouse. He basically said, it's a tricky line that we have to walk when we're making trailers of, we need to get butts and seats. So sometimes that means spoiling some story elements, but at the same time, we want to hold up the artist's integrity by not spoiling story beats. So there's that fine line that he talked about. That's actually really interesting. He's definitely one of my favorite people in the industry because Jason Blum is very blunt with everything. He's just like, this worked, this didn't. We screwed this up. This worked well for us. He's very brutally honest. He listens to the fans. He's a very smart businessman, and I think I really like Jason Blum. Blumhouse, known for horrors, but sometimes they have my favorite genre, which is horror comedies. My next trailer is for sure a horror comedy. Like Goodnight Mommy, it's one that I saw the trailer and I spent what felt like a lifetime trying to track it down and find it because I could not find it for the life of me. And then eventually, I found it at Family Video, but because it was a lesser-known indie movie, they only had one copy in stock, so I had to wait and check and check and check and check until Family Video finally had Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows. If you have not watched the trailer for What We Do in the Shadows, the original movie, not the show, go watch the trailer if you haven't even seen the movie, because I cannot recommend the movie enough. Oh my goodness. And this trailer, very rarely does a comedy trailer make me go, I need to see that right now, because typically they have the funniest jokes in the trailer and it's whatever. Something about What We Do in the Shadows, of these modern day vampires living in a flat together but don't get along, I don't know, just sucked me in. And it was so funny, of just like, Deacon, you're a cool guy and all, but you haven't done the dishes in 5 years. Well, I'm glad to hear you think I'm a cool guy. No, that's not what he's talking. I know what he's talking about, but I like the positive affirmation. Or just like they get a human friend to teach them things, and so he's teaching them karate. So he's just like, kick me here, and so the vampire like just actually like fly kicks over to him. It was just like this stupid warped humor that I was like, I don't know who this Taika Waititi is, or why I should care about this, but I need to see this movie now. Even if it's the stupidest movie in the world, I need to see it. And I finally saw it, and now it's one of my favorite comedies of all time. What We Do in the Shadows, the trailer alone is hysterical, but when you finally get to see the movie, they don't put all the funny lines in the trailer. They have so much more to that, because Jermaine Clement is so funny. Taika Waititi is so funny. I can never hype this trailer up enough. It single-handedly made me go, who is this Taika? And I need to pay attention to him. And yes, it is the same Taika that did Ragnarok.
That's something that is probably, we could have our own discussion on, like, probably the hardest genre to market. It's got to be comedy, because if you're a marketing team and you're like, well, this movie's not that good, but we need to do our job of get butts in seats. We need to put the best jokes in the actual trailer, and then hope people will come. Or if you have a great movie, everyone's a believer. It's that discernment factor of like, what do you actually put in there? Or like when is enough? And I would think comedy's probably the hardest to market, and for that reason alone, because there's not a lot to a comedy. I mean, even the most action-based films, you can throw in a couple jokes in there, because it's you're trying to do one thing, just give a lot of explosions, throw a little bit of humor, and then boom, you're dynamic. But this is a straight-up comedy that's so hard to do. So kudos to them. I'm glad that certainly paid off. My second to last one here. We've talked a lot about this, particular universe as of late.
I was about to say, I think our last two are the same.
Yes, the last two are the same. Listen, my father is a massive Godzilla fan, and so when they announced that they were going to try to do another American version that was a little more grounded, not as bombastic or lunatic, like what's the word? Ludicrous, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Doesn't have an iguanodon.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking, okay, let's see this, and we're not going to talk about the film and what happens to Bryan Cranston, but
that's the only fault. That's the only fault I have with the trailer.
Yeah, but the trailer itself, the fact that Bryan Cranston's acting his what off during this, it just adds that level of what are we about to witness. Like, if you didn't know what this trailer was at all, if you were seeing it in theaters and didn't see the YouTube banner, and then it ultimately is revealed Godzilla, and you get just a glimpse of him, I lost my mind. This is superseded by what was to come later that year, in 2014. But that first trailer in February of 2014 for Godzilla, I ran as fast as I could. I told my dad, I texted him, I said, please watch this right now. Go to YouTube and look this up, Dad. I can't believe it. I can't wait to watch this with you. And we had a great time with the movie as well. But my gosh, that trailer, it is magnificent. People, if you treat yourself tonight, go watch the original Godzilla 2014 trailer.
Yeah, it is so good. Minus the fact that, false advertising with Bryan Cranston, which still annoys me to this day. But, yeah, that trailer is a masterclass. Rewatching it, because I rewatched all the trailers for research for this, just to kind of reacquaint myself. Some of them I hadn't seen in a very long time. That Godzilla one still holds up. The only thing I would change is I would make it a little shorter. And here's why. There's that great shot in the teaser where you have a whole bunch of soldiers on the roof. They shoot up flares way high up in the air, and they hit Godzilla in the side, and you kind of get this sense of how big he is, but you still don't get a shot of him. I would have cut the trailer there, cut to black, then you hear the Godzilla roar. That way you still don't know what he looks like, but you get that sense of, oh my god, they're on top of a skyscraper, shot a flare up, and they still didn't get to the top of him. Because in that moment, like, the bass rumbles, and you're like, this thing's huge. I just would have cut it there, but that's just me nitpicking. That trailer's magnificent. I have some issues with the movie itself, primarily human characters. Looking at you, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. You weren't quite the actors that you are today. Well, Elizabeth Olsen, Aaron Taylor Johnson, I still don't think is necessarily the greatest actor out there. But that first trailer, man, oh boy. Even me, who wasn't a big Godzilla fan, was super hyped. But one of my buddies, who's the biggest Godzilla fan in the world, was like on cloud 9. Like,
Yes.
I will be happy when the Uncharted trailer drops. I will not be even remotely as close to happy as he was when the Godzilla trailer came out. Like, that man had tears of joy, I am pretty sure. Well, I'll be honest. That trailer didn't move me to tears of joy, but one did. Time and time again.
Yeah.
Not just one trailer, but 2 separate trailers. Actually, all the trailers for this movie.
All of them. Let's be honest.
Because I thought I remembered them being the same trailer, but apparently it's 2 different trailers for The Force Awakens.
Yes.
That first teaser, where it's just like, oh, someone's riding the chocolate bar that looks like the skiff that looks like a chocolate bar. I still think that to this day, it looks like those Godiva dipped cones. That thing that Rey rides, it looks like one of those chocolate dipped cones that's turned sideways. I still think that.
Funny.
Then you see BB-8. Then you see Kylo Ren with the tri-saber, which the internet immediately was like, I don't know if I like that. Yeah. And then you're just like, oh, is that the money shot for the trailer? The darkness rises. No, it's something about the force. Something about the force rising and the darkness to meet it, or something like that. You go to black. You're like, was that it? Was that the money shot of the tri-saber? Ba-na-na, as the Millennium Falcon does a barrel roll. I was like, it's the Millennium Falcon. So I normally am like on it with trailers. I'll watch them like as soon as they come out. My parents, not so much, because they're not on social media. I remember going to my parents and showing them the trailer. My dad, normally when he sees trailers, he's just like, that's fine. He like doesn't react like I would. Like, he's much more reserved. He had the biggest grin on his face, just the biggest smile when he saw the Millennium Falcon. It's just like, ah. And as good as that was, of just sheer ecstaticness, I genuinely think I lost my voice and cried tears of happiness when you think, man, that's a good enough trailer. I don't think they can top that. They don't need to top that. Chewie, we're home. That, like, grown men tears. That's another one that when I finally showed my parents, my dad was just grinning from ear to ear, just like he saw an old friend again for the first time in many, many years. Like, I don't even care. It's Han and Chewie back on the Millennium Falcon, which for a while there, I thought for some reason that was the same trailer, but both of those trailers are outstanding. I'm sure we'll keep gushing about it, but I'll toss it over for you a little bit. Tears of joy for you as well?
Oh, yes. I remember going into a dark room, turning my phone up to the max brightness, and then I watched it 3 or 4 times. And yeah, it was Black Friday, 2014. There's the Black Friday teaser that was like that minute long, perfect. Again, I will say, along with like the Man of Steel, that minute, and like Prometheus, like there's something about just that 1 minute time frame where you can cram so much stuff in, so therefore like nothing is wasted. But yeah, that first one, man, the music cues, the cuts, the fact you're like, okay, so it's CGI and practical effects, and like all this stuff looks incredible. Like, I just remember like just being in shock of like how good it looked. And then just like, okay, like that's a cool new red lightsaber. And then you're right. Like there was another teaser that came out when the iconic shot is the X-wings coming across the water.
My favorite
Um,
moment from Force Awakens, actually.
yeah. And then finally it's the Chewie We're Home trailer, which that was the full debut trailer at the end of was that they showed that at the end of
Star Wars
was that
Celebration.
yeah, it was
Because
Celebration. That one made me late to class.
I
So
remember that day. I
yes,
remember that.
you should.
Because I
Yes.
found you in the library after I had
Yes,
it.
yes, I was in the library.
Because we were
Yes.
live stream. I was at lunch in the cafeteria and I was live streaming it on my phone. I didn't even know you were in the library, but I think Heather was with me. I can verify her with her after the podcast. But I was watching the live stream, and then I see the trailer. It's just, I need to hug something. I don't care if it's an animal or a person. I just need to hug something and just scream, not mad or sad, just noise comes out of my body because I was just so happy. It was just so right. It was just so right. Because, guys, cast Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker out of your mind and just go back to the good old days before Force Awakens came out. The hype for it was just this sense and relief that Star Wars is back. It's the classic Star Wars that you know and love. The hype for Force Awakens was unreal. And still to this day, I will argue and say it lived up to the hype. I love Force Awakens. You can never change my mind on that. You can just be like, it's just a New Hope again. I don't care. It was fun. It felt like Star Wars. It was an adventure, and I loved every minute of it. And then to counter that, I think the third trailer was also really, really good. Of the Jedi, it's all true, all of it, with Han Solo, and then just the music builds and builds to do 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 as you see the X-wing shoot down a TIE fighter and just fly through the explosion. All the Force Awakens trailers are masterpieces, and still to this day, even having seen the movie all these years later, I still, as you can tell, still get amped for those trailers. Just going,
Oh yes.
Star Wars is back. Like, the multi-generational Star Wars is back. Not just the children-targeted Star Wars, like the prequels. As much as we love them, they're clearly aimed for children, whereas Force Awakens is targeted for families. And it just felt, this is what we've wanted. This just feels right. And it just, no trailer has been able to replicate that for me.
What was the Chewie We're Home trailer? Was that the same one with when you saw Poe Dameron for the first time?
No. You see Poe in the first teaser when you see the Rey riding the ice cream bar. Then you see BB-8. Then you see Poe in the X-wing. And then you go to black. And then I feel like you see something else, and then it goes to black again. Then you see Kylo with the lightsaber.
Okay, so that's all on the same one. Okay, so the second one was the April, was at the end of Celebration, was the Chewie We're Home.
Yes.
And then
the third one is the final trailer with the.
First, the final trailer that came out in October. Do you remember that one as much, because that was the one where all the sites crashed for tickets wise, and I remember
that's the one that's
with
the Jedi, they were real. The Force, it's real.
Yeah.
All of it. That was the third one.
Okay, so I remember where I was at with all three of those. Like that's like it's kind of like one of those it's a holiday type of moment of like, I remember where I was, what I was doing, who I was with, and every single one of those trailers. What does that say? It says that I'm really sad person, for one, but like the idea that like those were so impactful, because you're right, the hype was unreal. We had never experienced something like that before. Well, at least to an extent where we could remember it like we're talking about it now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I remember at least the third one. I was in class again, because again, the Chewie We're Home trailer, I was late for class because of that, because I got caught up talking to you.
Worth it.
Absolutely worth it. And then the other one was when I was at the end of class, because it aired in at the halftime of Monday Night Football, and I was also in class, completely not taking notes, just following that. And then that's when the tickets went on sale. And by the skin of our teeth, my friend Stefan was able to get us our tickets in IMAX opening night. But that was through all the sites crashing. That was like one of the first films that were like, yeah, we just overloaded the servers. And
I remember that happening for Endgame.
Yeah, it did. Did you actually get your tickets to Force Awakens for opening night as well?
Yes, but so my family's old fashioned sometimes. Like I'm relatively techie, I guess, but I remember the sites crashed. So my dad, being the old school mind he is, just goes, "Well, if the computer's down, the theater's right up the street. Why don't I just go to the box office and see if they have any tickets available?" Apparently, they had plenty of tickets if you actually physically went to the theater, so we got our tickets just fine. I was like, "Oh, good job, Dad. Way to think outside the box." Then,
Now,
thankfully, I was ahead of the curve when Endgame came out because those tickets sold out in 10 minutes. But I remember before I went for work for the day, they released the final trailer for Endgame and it said tickets on sale now. I was just like, don't even care. Getting them right now. Okay, I got my tickets. I don't care wherever we're sitting, but we're seeing Endgame opening night first showing. So it's kind of the same thing for Force Awakens. Yeah, of just physically
did you
going to
see
the
the
store.
first showing
Huh?
of Force Awakens? Were you the first showing as well? I thought there was one of these where I actually had to text you or you had to text me about your thoughts. I don't know.
That was
I
Last
think.
Jedi.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, Force Awakens. I was there for the first showing. Come on,
Yeah.
son.
Yeah, I know it was just difficult. It was luck of the draw. Yeah, oh my gosh, man. Like that's why we get so hyped up, man, because just the trailers evoke so many emotions and they get people talking. And never is the community stronger than in those moments,
Yep.
honestly.
Yep. As much as I hate the Star Wars fan base sometimes because they can be awful and cruel to people, like how they treated poor Kelly Marie Tran or Jake Lloyd or Ahmad Best for Jar Jar. It's in those moments that I remember why this fandom can be great. And I think we're getting back to that now. Um, I'm trying to think if there's any trailers that would get me excited, like a Man of Steel 2 someday, a Nightwing trailer. But again, I've said before, if this Uncharted trailer is good, I will be man enough to admit that I'll cry tears of joy. If they have even remotely or anything even close to the classic Uncharted theme of do 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 do, and that's just how you end the trailer. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be coherent enough to do the podcast for the next couple weeks.
Right.
'Cause I love trailers. They're my lifeblood. I need to get to the theater early to make sure I don't miss any trailers. Even if I've already seen them at home, it's different watching them on a big screen. I still have yet to see the Batman trailer on the big screen because everything shut down. But any closing remarks there, Michael, before we take this thing home?
No, I'm looking forward to what's coming for 2021, and I think we've started up pretty strong for this year. I mean, talking about Kong versus Godzilla, obviously, I'm really glad that franchise is getting a little bit of hype. Like, I'm very very glad. Hopefully, the movie can deliver. I mean, we got trailers. I mean, what's to come this year? Like the next Spider-Man trailer. That's going to be there. I mean, undoubtedly, we're going to see that first trailer for Uncharted. It's going to happen. There's a lot, Mission Impossible as well. Like, there's some good stuff coming, hopefully, that has a history of delivering. So I can't wait for this. This is an ongoing discussion. We're just talking about just some of the few ones that have come out. But if you look at like our lists, these aren't trailers going back to like the 50s and 60s. Like, the art of trailer making is so much better now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think some of the best ones are to come. I don't think they're stuck in the past.
Yep, I think you bring up a great point. I think we've only really started to see what they're really capable of with movie trailers. Well, what do you guys think? What are some of your all-time favorite trailers? Let us know in the comments below. We always like hearing from you guys. And as always, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, subscribe to us on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, or YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. We got a lot of exciting stuff, including that Nightwing project coming. So yeah, subscribe to us on YouTube. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.